Okay, so it looks like we're live. Let me see. Let me switch over to Facebook here. Okay. So I think I'll give it just a second to let people jump on and then I
Well,
will.
and give it a few minutes and ask people to say, "Hey, I'm here," or whatnot.
Yeah. Let me go to Willard so I can see us on here too. There we are. Okay, perfect. So looks like I'm gonna go ahead and get started then. So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Chelsea, and I'm a reference librarian at Willard Library. And today we have the incredible speed painter and motivational speaker Martina Hahn here with us to use her skills and shed some light on the feelings that situations like COVID-19 can cause and how she's managed to find positive in this stressful time. She's done several children's programs with us before, and I'm so excited to have her here for our first adult program today. So, without further ado, I will turn it over to you. All right.
All right, I guess I am live. First off, folks, this is really strange because I am talking to a computer that has a little person cut out on the top just so that I get some kind of response of it flowing in the wind. It is bizarre speaking to a screen. So bear with me, it'll all be good. So my name is Martina Hahn. I'm an artist and I live in the Walloon Lake area, which is actually just south of Petoskey. And as you can see, we have an incredible summer day. It's 80 something degrees. And I am having a really hard time adjusting because we had snow last week. So if I get out of breath, it's between nerves and heat and all of that good stuff. So for a living, I do speed painting. And I have, over the years, incorporated motivational speaking to go with that, because speed painting is really, I'm going to paint it, oops, I'm closer than I thought. Um, I'm going to paint a very large picture on this one for you later on at the end of the program. And but it really only takes about 6 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes. And so when I was asked to go to schools and do assemblies, I said, well, we can't assemble 1,500 kids for 6 minutes. And that's how the programs came to be. Initially, it was children's programs, and then I moved on to adult programs, current events, current issues, historical stuff, anything that's asked. One time I was asked to do the story about Valentine's Day. Why do we celebrate it? And why do we celebrate it the way we do, and when, and all of that. So that's what I do for about 50% of the time. The other time teach. I teach classes in local places up here, and that's kept me pretty busy. Well, except for the last 2 months, obviously. So no more traveling. This is actually kind of nice. I'm in my yard, and it didn't take all that long to get here. No 4-hour drive. So I live up here with my last child. He's 15. I have a 3-legged dog. I have 2 cats and a big garden. And my other 2 children live overseas. They've already graduated from college, one in Ireland, one in Germany. I think that's pretty much it about me. You'll find out more stuff about me as we go on throughout the program, because there's some key points that kind of connect with what we're talking about today, which is when an event happens, such as COVID-19, there is automatic fear. And I was afraid too, and I got more afraid as we got all of this news. And how do I deal with this? And what can I do to live a semi sane life, I guess, in the process? So we will talk about fear a little bit, why we feel it, what it can turn into, and also some things to do to, yes, you can't really alleviate it, but to live with it and still have wonderful moments. We can't just put our lives completely on hold. So in order to understand it, we first have to know what exactly it is, what's causing it. So my very first question to you, and please do comment. Chelsea's going to read the comments to me. I'm a little bit far away from the computer, so I can't quite read it. But my question to you, and you can answer this to yourself as well, what is the opposite of love? Any comments? Type it. What do you think? So, if you thought that the answer of the opposite of love is hate, then you are wrong. The opposite of love is actually fear. And based on any of those two emotions, fear and love, is how we act and react, always based on one or the other. And then all the other emotions, such as jealousy, fear, aggression, hatred, that comes, well, fear is obviously bottom one, but anxiety, jealousy, hatred is all based out of fear. And kindness and empathy and understanding is based on love. Also, another thing that causes one or the other, it's obviously certain events in our lives, but it's also a sense of control and a loss of control. And you know exactly where this is going. So that is what we are experiencing right now. We have a complete loss of control. A lot of us lost our jobs. Um, I went from 180 miles an hour, painting, teaching, traveling, to zero when we got a call from the school saying, by the way, there is no more school. 2 minutes later, the call from my other places, halt, stop now. So I got to thinking about what makes this so very different versus a regular traumatic event in our lives or a fear-based response. And really, if you think about it, we always have those things in our lives. We always have moments of fear, uncertainty, and all of that, except if you have person A, person B, person C. Person A may have had a tragic death in their family. Person B may have had a traumatic illness, that kind of thing. Everybody has stories. Everybody has bad things happen in their lives. But person A had it then. Person B will have it tomorrow. Person C had it 3 months or years ago. And the response is usually the same. It's a fear response. It's a loss of control over the situation. The difference is now with COVID-19, we have this all at once. Everybody does all over the world. I talk to my children in Europe quite often. Everything is the same. On that note, I do want to say a quick disclaimer, which I actually meant to say a little earlier. What I am saying here um, is not meant to change anyone's opinion. It's not something that I want to push on you. It's not to criticize anyone or any particular person. It's not about religion. It's not about politics. I don't want any of that here. It's personal experiences of mine that I am able to apply and have figured out in my own life. And if this means by sharing it that somebody else is going to be able to take bits and pieces and possibly apply it to their own lives to help them, that goal accomplished. So that is really all this is all about. So the all at once part is what was so paralyzed, I guess. So initially there was, for I think most people, the personal fear of health, life, our children, our loved ones, and as went on, we had this fear in our lives for an extended amount of time. There was no letting off. We were told, stay home, don't go here, wear the mask, do this, do that. So the fear was a long, stressful event that was not just a peak, and then it went away, and then something came back, and a milder version. I'm sorry, but I was told I have to stand in the sun so you can see me because if I go here, I'll be dark in the shade. So I'm noticing I'm halfway shaded here. um, So, the long and stressful time of this fear wreaks a lot of havoc with our emotions. So, when something fearful happens, oh, by the way, I think I may want to kind of, on certain points, doodle on my canvas. If I have to collect myself, that's my way of turning my back on me, recollecting. So, anyways, usually in a traumatic type situation, any kind of situation, there are three responses. The first is the fight. We want to kick, scream, not have it happen, and the second is the flight, try to run away, which we can't do either. We're not allowed to go anywhere. Um, and the third one is to freeze, to become paralyzed, to not know what to do. And so all of these three responses have to do with complete sense of control, of loss of control, a sense of the loss of control. The longer this type of fear exists in us and around us and with everything that we hear, the higher our cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone, and the higher those hormone levels are, and they never go down. We're just constantly kind of surging, and sometimes higher, faster, sometimes slower, but we never really are able to turn it off and recover and relax from all of it. The problem with that is that it causes those secondary emotions that come from the fear, and a lot of it is anxiety or anger, lashing out to other people, and I'm sure most of you have noticed that on social media at the moment. I am right, you're wrong. My opinion is the right one, your opinion is the wrong one, and I'm going to try my darndest to tell you that you are wrong and I am right. So that's kind of a very normal response, because ultimately, a sense of control is what we need for survival on a very biological level, very primitive level. But we need to survive as a person, as a family, as a species. And so we have certain reactions to everything that's going on. And ultimately, those reactions and the things we do, the actions we take, the things we say, become more and more and more selfish for a reason, because we're responsible for our own survival. So I hope that that makes some sense. But what I'm going to tell you now, and again, look at this program like you're going to the grocery store. When you go to the store, there is a ton of stuff on the shelf. You come in there to get certain things. You don't go and get everything and say, this is what I need and this, and I need everything in the store. Look at this program and the certain suggestions, the topics, the things that I say as items on the shelf. So take what you want, take what helps you, take what you need, and leave the rest alone. You do not have to agree with me. You don't have to like it. Just pick and choose the things that work for you, that help you. That's all. What I say may not work for everybody. It did for me. So, anyways, so the longer we are in these stressful situations without a break, and the higher the sense of fear becomes, the more stressed out we get, the more anxious we get, the more angry we get, and then the more selfish we get. Very normal thing. So knowing that, hopefully, will allow some of us to look at other people in a slightly different way. I'm not saying to excuse their behavior or the tone of voice, or everybody's entitled to their opinion. What bothers me a lot is the tone of voice that comes across. But maybe knowing the background behind this fear-based response makes it a little less anger causing in ourselves. So we are looking. Okay, there we go. Chelsea, are you still there?
I'm here.
Are you there? Is anybody having any questions so far?
Um, no questions so far. There are a lot of people that are saying they're excited to watch and it's great to see you again and hi. Um, we don't have any questions yet though.
Okay. Well, you're more than welcome to just kind of type a question in. Chelsea's going to monitor the questions, and then she'll just kind of say, "Hey, Martina, stop for a minute," and ask the question, and we can answer them. So, anyways, when I paint personally, paint a lot of illusion paintings, and what I mean by that is, for example, one painting that comes to mind right now is a birch forest. It's just a big old canvas, and it's a whole lot of trees and a whole lot of birches, and it's in the woods, and there's a path and all of that. Well, that's what people tend to see to begin with. Oh, it's a nice painting of trees. Most people don't see what's hidden in this picture, which happens to be a woman. There's a woman painted, um, the outline of the woman painted throughout this entire painting, but you can't see it. When I point it out, when I notice that people don't see it, and I say, "Look, did you find the woman in this picture?" And they say, "Oh my gosh, I know, I didn't see it." Then you can't unsee it. So over the last few months, I ponder a lot, I think a lot, I garden a lot, so I have a lot of time to think. Um, that was one of the things that I kind of heard through the grapevines over and over and over again. Something good will come of this. There has to be, because with the loss of hope, we have no reason to, go on. So we have to have some hope, and something good has to come of it. And I personally believe something will come of it. Maybe because we have to be so isolated, maybe we rethink our values a little bit. Maybe, we are forced to spend time with our family, and I'm sure, just like with mine, sometimes that's not all that pretty. but, but my son, who's 15, which is a really difficult age, he loves his friends, he loves his school, he loves his for the social factor. He was stuck at home. And I don't want to say that we were drifting apart, but he's a teenager, and mom's like the uncoolest thing ever at that age. We started puzzling. He came up and says, "Mom, let's go order a puzzle online. Let's do something together." And we spent an entire week, every second that we had available to us together on the floor with this huge 5,000 piece puzzle. So there has been a lot of good in that regard that came out of this forced situation. The thing is, we cannot change the current situation ever. I mean, we can't. It doesn't matter how much we have a temper tantrum. It doesn't matter how much we emotionally isolate from other people or withdraw. We cannot change the situation, period. It brings me to my next point. What is the opposite of death? Not that I'm implying anything here. That's not where I'm getting at. I'm talking about how to look at things and how to perceive them. So the opposite of death, most people would say, is life, but it's not. Because by definition, the opposite of death is birth. We have no control over our birth, where we're born, to whom we're born, how we're born, what we look like, all of that. We usually don't have any control over our death either, because we don't know when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen and all that good stuff. Everything that happens between those two, the birth and the death, that part is called life. That's the life. And yes, there are a lot of circumstances we have zero control over. We may have had a traumatic illness. And this is where it gets a little bit personal for me, because now 12 years ago, I woke up one morning with my doctor calling, telling me that I had ovarian cancer. So, obviously that was one of those what moments, not me, and it was very traumatic. It was horrible. I had a 3-year-old to contend with. I'm a single parent. He had no other people in the world, really, not in this country. I'm from Europe. My family all lives in Europe. And it was at the time, the most horrific experience that I've had in my life. Now, 12 years later, I'm going to tell you that it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So the question is, was it a bad thing or was it a good thing? And the answer is, it was neither. It was a thing. It was neutral. It's just a thing. It was an event that happened, and how I reacted to it, that is what made it good or bad. Because back then, you go through all these stages. You're angry, you're in disbelief, then you start to barter and pray. And if I make it through this, well, I woke up one day when the doctor told me, okay, your survival chance is now 95%, which is the exact same survival rate of a normal, healthy person. Did you know that? Only 95%. Anyhow, now you can go home, come back in 6 months, we'll check you out. And I went home and I said, now what? You know, what do I do now? There was no more doctor's appointment, no hospital appointment, no surgeries, no treatments, no nothing. And I made myself a promise at that point. And I said, from here on out, I'm going to focus on all the things I wanted. And my wish back then to call him God, call him higher power, call him universe, anything you believe in. My wish was, my request was, I want to paint, I want to travel, and I want someone to pay me to do both. So I remember the very day I woke up, I was getting ready to drive out to Amarillo to deliver a keynote, and when I drive, we make a mini vacation out of it. So I took my son down Route 66 and we stopped at all the cool stuff, all the old gas stations and diners and the Cadillac Ranch and all of that good stuff, so that we remember this event. So it's not just another keynote or another program somewhere else. By the way, you'll be remembered as the very first live stream in my life. So anyhow, when I woke up and realized that what I wanted at the time 11 years ago, I was already living. I was actually living it, and I hadn't even known. So at that point, that's what made my experience with my cancer diagnosis the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I think before that, I was kind of just swimming along and heading somewhere, nowhere specific, getting up, going to work, raising my children, that kind of thing. So just to put this into perspective, I'm sure there's a lot of people yelling, how can something like this be a good thing? And no, it doesn't feel that way right now. It does not feel that way. I cannot see my children. They cannot travel. They cannot leave their respective countries in which they live. They can't enter their home country, for multiple reasons, obviously. So no, it's not great right now. It's awful and it's scary. But because of my experience in the past, I know some good stuff will come of this in time, and we don't know yet, but we will. And so, because of that, I want to paint a flower because flowers are a good thing. So I'm just going to doodle a little, and then you can tell me what kind of flower it is. Hopefully, you'll be able to see or recognize it. I don't have my paints out on the table just yet because it's so bloody hot up here. It would be dry by now. So here we go. Press paint. Make really weird noises sometimes. I apologize for that. Hope you're laughing. So weird not to hear you. So let me paint a flower. I'm a paint a flower here. Hmm.
Melissa said, I think so too. I've spent a lot of time with my mom.
Isn't that a good thing sometimes, depending on how you look at it? It can be however
Yes.
you look at it. So, can you see my flower? Is it visible?
Yes. I was worried because of the shade, but it's beautiful.
Okay, it's a flower. There we go. Moving on. So that was the one point. And here is kind of I'm going in the sun so you guys can see me. I'm gonna be at the end of the yard by the end of the program. Hollering. So here's the thing. We our sense of control is really only a perception. And right now, when we talk about complete loss of control in these uncertain times, honestly, every time I read that, I kind of finally got to the point where I almost have to chuckle, as ironic as it is, and it's not even funny. But all times are uncertain. When you really start thinking about it, you have no guarantee for anything. You have no guarantee for tomorrow. You have no guarantee that you're going to stay healthy. And one of the things that we tend to do, I used to, and I still do sometimes, and I see it in a lot of the people around me, is the notion that when this happens, when I buy my new house, then I'm going to be happy. When I get my new car, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy once I have a kid, or when I get a new job, or after I buy this gadget, or, we always have something more we are waiting for to be happy because we have this idea that happiness is this huge, big event that we're going to achieve, hopefully, at some point, and then stay there. And that's not how it works. Happiness in general is kind of comprised of a whole lot of little different things. So it is moments of joy, moments of gratitude for something that maybe someone did for us, or gratitude that I got my health back. It's short little moments that make up this kind of big umbrella of happiness. And unfortunately, in order to even recognize this, in order to even know that it is joy and happiness, we unfortunately, excuse me, also have to experience the opposite of it. So, for example, if you never tasted anything but one meal, you wouldn't know if it tastes good or not. But because you have a whole lot of different meals, you can pick and choose. I like this and I don't like that because you have a point of comparison, which is exactly the point. We have to have unpleasant things happen to us in order to appreciate and to feel the pleasant ones. So the key to this whole thing is to notice them, to notice them. And once you notice them, becomes very easy over time to actively pursue them. And it could be little moments. It could be, hearing a certain song on the radio, or noticing the small little things. And I think this becomes so much more important now, more so than ever, that we do notice these moments because we have this we have this thing that life kind of came to a screeching halt. I actually used to use that term, but it hasn't. Life keeps going on. It's just different, and we're grieving our old way of life because it's a loss, just like any kind of loss of health, loss of a loved one. You go through a grieving process, and unfortunately, that includes a lot of fear and anxiety and anger. So we're kind of, when it comes to these waves of joy, happiness, contentment, and gratitude, we're kind of down here at the moment in this, oh my gosh, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. But really, honestly, you never know what's going to happen. How can I be in my 30s and be told that I have ovarian cancer? That was not planned. That was not something that I thought I would ever hear, but it did happen. It's the proverbial bus, getting hit by the bus. You could get hit by the bus. So there are no guarantees. There aren't. So the best thing really to do is just to grab life by the horns and run with it. And now more so than ever, we just have to relearn how to do it in a different way. So the thing is that emotional regulation, we actually have a lot of control in our lives. When I was talking about the opposite of death being birth and having no control over either event, the part in the middle, the life part, we may not have a lot of control over the actual event, but we always, and this is a promise, always 100% have control over how we react to these events. Oh, now the sun is going behind a tree. We can always choose how to react. It is not something that just happens to us. We control our emotions. And I know that sounds maybe a little strange, but it is actually true. If you stop and not react instantly, if you just kind of stop, let things sink in, and let your autonomic nervous system, all the chemicals that just roar through your bodies, if you let them calm down for a minute, um, you are able to respond to certain events much, much better than having just a gut reaction to them. I mean, you may have noticed that if you ever get like a nasty gram on email, I used to fire right back and like, what the heck? I still want to do that sometimes, but I made it a rule in my life that if I have something upsetting happen in my life, that I will respond to that later, whether it's later today or early tomorrow morning, but later. And it always is a good choice to do that. So the problem right now with this heightened state of stress that we're all in, and this fear that comes along with it, and the anxiety and sometimes anger that we've seen in a lot of people, including myself, is that again, we don't get a break. It just escalates and it never goes down, and it may go level for a little bit, but it never goes down, and then it goes surging up because we hear something on the news or we see something somewhere and it makes us upset. Is that at this point, none of us can afford to have that kind of reaction. First off, heightened emotions in a bad way, or negative emotions, influence our decision making. We make rash decisions. We make, well, let's just be frank, stupid choices when we're in a heightened state of emotions, especially negative. Um, Having our emotions under control, actually, or somewhat under control. None of us can control our emotions entirely, but we having the emotions guided by us instead of them guiding us increases our resilience to the certain situation. The opportunity to just say, okay, I'm just going to let this be right now, and I'm going to do something that I like. I'm going to just kind of do something different because whatever I'm upset about will still be there later. I do that with dishes a lot. I see the pile and I'm like, nah, I'm just going to go do something nice, and then the dishes will still be there later. I know I'm trying to humor you. I can't hear you laugh. I hope you are. Still trying to, learn this on my thing.
I do have a fun comment. I didn't want to interrupt though, but
No, please do interrupt.
Amy said the bird wants to join in, and I thought that was funny because I was thinking the same thing. Every time you would talk, the bird would talk with you.
A bird like in my yard?
Oh, you couldn't hear the bird?
No, I'm talking to you. I can't hear.
Yes, there was a bird, and he was joining you for a while.
Oh, that is so cool. I like it. I like it. I'm going to paint another flower for the bird. I hope you guys like painting too at home. I've actually started uploading tutorials on my YouTube channel, for painting stuff because I miss it so much. But right now I'm going to do this guy here. So here's my next flower. Okay. Even the paint on the brush is drying up like crazy. So here's the thing. We'll continue now that the bird is he gone? I think he was sitting in that red maple behind me, but see, we don't even have any leaves up there. So, emotions, they influence our decision making. We will have increased resilience if we get some kind of a handle on our emotions. We living in anxiety and anger is not the solution because it also compromises our immune system, which is not something that we want to do at the moment. So you cannot alleviate feeling fearful and angry and scared entirely. But you can find moments in between to, well, literally forget the current situation by finding something that gives you joy, whatever that may be. And I just want to encourage you to look for things, try things. You're going to have to try 99 things, and only the 100th one you find, oh my gosh, that's my thing. Color by number. Of course, I'm going to do the painting thing because I do that. I paint. But, reading a book, like an honest to goodness book, the kind with the paper, the one that you actually take in the couch with the blanket, and a cup of tea or coffee, and that, not, if you like electronic ones, is good too. What else are people doing right now? Puzzling, any kind of activity. Go on Pinterest, go somewhere, go look and see what at least interests you. Try it out and find something that you love so that you get a break in this stress response. We have to be responsible for our own sanity at the moment. And fear mongering, sensationalism, the so-called professionals on YouTube. I just saw this meme a few days ago because I completely went offline except for once or twice a day, and I set my timer for 15 minutes because I have noticed, especially in the beginning, I needed to know what was going on. What were the newest numbers? What were the newest whatnots? I'm sure I know a lot of people in my circle of friends have experienced the same thing, so I'm sure a lot of you have too. It fed into my fear. But this meme that I saw, and again, I'm not being political, I'm not being, in any direction whatsoever, but the meme was, let's not listen to the CDC, let's not listen to the WHO, let's not listen to doctors with 20, 30, 40 years of experience, but instead let's listen to the guy on YouTube with $500 recording equipment. And that is something that I've actually noticed in my own Facebook feed, Instagram, and all of that. There's a lot of professionals out there all of a sudden. People who did something entirely different, and now because they have an opinion, they're because they have read 3 articles, have become a professional. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that stuff. Get yourself a news update from a reputable source once or twice a day. Be in the loop, know what happens in the world, what happens in your neighborhood, what happens in your state. But leave it at that and focus on yourself and focus on the things that you like to do. Make sure your news source is reputable. There's a lot of really bad articles out there. There's also, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there. That's all part of the deal. With anything that happens, that's always part of everything. So one of the things that I actually said out loud not long ago to a friend who was arguing with me or trying to argue with me over some opinion over something, I just looked him straight in the eye and I said, mind you, and that was 10 feet away because we only meet in my driveway anymore. Oh gosh, here comes the bugs. Oh, we're in northern Michigan. I'm in the shade. I'm gonna go. See, I'm moving backwards. Can you still hear me? So one of the things,
Yes, we can.
okay, one of the things that I said was, have you ever known one case? Sorry, big old pickup truck. Have you ever experienced one case in your life in which you changed somebody else's opinion by attacking it? I have never had that happen in my life. I have never been able to change anyone's opinion by attacking their current opinion, by telling them that their opinion was no good, because their immediate response was going on the defense and yelling right back at me. You know, this is that proverbial let's catch more flies with honey. Huh? But here's another good thing. If you don't get yourself pulled into that kind of stuff, you're actually doing something good for yourself because you don't feel that anger. You don't feel the need to defend yourself. You don't have to be right all the time. Why do we have to be right? What's it going to change in the world if we are right and they are wrong? That was a profound lesson that I've learned. I know I'm right. I don't have to tell. That's the way I do it. So, anyways, so coming back to the illusion painting, which is, if you haven't figured it out, something that I'm going to do here. I don't even know what time we have. Oh, I've been down for a long time. I'm sorry I'm in the shade. Can you still see at least the outline here, Chelsea?
Yeah, we can see all of the flowers. The background is just a little more black than red.
Okay. I'm just concerned. Well, that's really all that matters, I think. As long as you know that what kind of flowers these are, that kind of thing. Okay, I'm gonna paint another one. Let's see. Uh, put one up here.
Sonia says, stay positive. I know this can be very difficult when nothing seems to be going right, but the alternative is to fall into the trap of negativity.
Yes. And that's when you need to find something to completely distract yourself when you know you're on that path of complete and utter getting sucked into that negative vortex. That's when you have to have a plan, something that you know that you can do right now, something you know you're going to enjoy, to kind of rip yourself out of that moment and not, go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. So to me, that is the hardest part. First, you need to recognize that you're going there, and then you need to find something to pull you out of it. So here's our next flower. Yeah, yeah, that's good. Okay, so you know it's going to be an illusion, right? Flowers right now. So I think I'm out of sun. I mean, I really, no, I'm out. Hello, hey. So bear with me. You all know what I look like, anyways, by now. Um, Here's the thing. We, as individuals, we do not need to worry about other people's behavior because we can't change it anyways. What we need to worry about is our behavior. What are the things that we are saying? Are we comfortable with the things that we're saying? If we were, some of the things, if we were our own best friend, what would our friend say to us with not so much what we say, but how we say it? I think that was one of the biggest problems that I've noticed is the blatant, outright attacks, which made me feel horrible, horrible. So that is one of the things. Worry about yourself. We never, ever, ever know what goes on in another person's life, no matter how much we think we do. We don't know. We don't know why people react the way they do to the people. Sometimes it's obvious, they have a different political affiliation or they have a different outlook on life or whatnot. But in general, there's a whole lot more to that than just that. So again, stop for a moment because, we can't change people's opinions by attacking them. And I'm certainly not going to change my opinion just because somebody's yelling at me and telling me I'm wrong. Do what you love and do the type of behavior that you love seeing in others. It's kind of hard to explain, but when you feel good, when you feel good, it first radiates away from you, and people around you will feel a lot better. This is actually something that honestly I stumbled across for the first time today when I was doing some research. What are we teaching our children at the moment? What are we teaching them in regards to coping with negative emotions? Um, Adults are so drawn into their own fears and worries and all of that. What are we teaching our children? And as those of you who have children already know, I can't believe how dark I am. It's not even dark out. Huh. But as you know, children don't do as we tell them. They just don't. Children do as we do. They mimic us. They do the same things we do. So if we have all these negative emotions and we just let them go and go with it, go attack people and lash out, guess what our children are going to do? They're going to do the same thing. They see mom, dad, and a grandma, grandpa, sister, brother do it, so they will too. So keep in mind the impact that you have on your immediate surroundings too, not just yourself. Ultimately, yes, you do have to take care of yourself. Everybody needs to be taking care of themselves. Quiet your mind. That's another one. We are just inundated with news and this video and that movie and that podcast and this live stream. Um, take a break. Take a break from it. I found for a long time that if I didn't have something coming, either in my ears or in my eyes or both, that I didn't like the thoughts that I had. I started dwelling on all kinds of, what ifs and oh my gosh, what am I going? So I distracted myself with that. But it's only comfortable. It's only uncomfortable for just a little bit in the beginning. If you find something to do with your hands and something that gives you joy, then that kind of feeling or that need to think or overthink goes away in time too. So quiet your mind. Some people call it meditating. Other people want to pray. It's the same thing. Just quiet your mind and don't have constantly all of this coming at you from every single direction. Again, go on your favorite website or news channel or whatnot once, maybe twice a day, just to make sure you have an update. But that's all you need. The rest is just going to drive you nuts. Um, Anything that anyone ever says to you, whether it's a group of people, a particular person commenting on something that you say or trying to change your mind, don't ever take it personally, ever, because it's not about you. When somebody says something, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, when somebody says something, it is always a reflection on them, not on the person that they talk to or about. It's always a reflection of themselves. So choose who you want to be. Just because I go and bash another person and say what they're thinking and saying and doing is wrong, shows a really, I don't want to be that person. I wouldn't like that person. I wouldn't want to be with a person like that. So why would I want to do it? So what other people do is always a reflection of themselves. What you do is always a reflection of yourself. So gossiping and talking bad about others comes back to bite you because it makes you look bad, me look bad, until I realized that I was like, oh my goodness, so what did I do for all these years? My next point, and I have one, two, I have a cheat sheet right behind you. I have like 6 or 7 points. So don't worry about others' behaviors. Do what you love and behave the way you would love others to behave. Quiet your mind. Don't take anything personally. The next point is don't assume anything. Don't assume you know why the person is acting the way they are, or don't assume that, I don't know, big health organizations um, do what they're doing. Don't assume because you don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I am not saying to be a blind follower to anyone. Always question things for sure, but never assume because honestly, we just don't know enough. The more I learn about certain subjects or certain things, the more I realize how much I don't know and the less I know. So think about, when you do talk to others or when you do go on social media and whatnot, how are you reflecting on yourself? Because see, the thing is, if we talk negatively, if we show, not show, but if we display, because we all have fear, we all have different emotions, but if we display them and we sit on them and write on them over and over, we're just making them worse. It's like that little drop on the stone, that over time carves a little hole in the stone. It's the same thing. Stop it right then. Is there something I can do about the current situation at the moment, right now? What can I do to fix it? Nothing? Okay, let's go do something entirely different. Get my mind off of things, and then in an hour or two, I'll see this slightly differently once I come back. And what I said earlier, the last point is happiness is not a huge, big event in people's lives, in anyone's lives. It's just a collection of all these small little moments of joy, of gratitude, and all of that. And they together make up what we call happiness. So when you seek small moments, when you do a few minutes of this and a couple hours of that, your day will have gone better at the end of the day than it would have if we had dwelled upon our negative emotions. The evening will always come every day. But how you spend that day, that again is entirely up to you. So with that, I'm going to close with a small little story. Some of you may already know it. It's a legend, which, I guess there's truth to it. Once upon a time, there was a little boy, and he went to his grandfather, and the grandfather told him a story. And he said, boy, did you know that in every single person there is a good wolf and a bad wolf, a white wolf and a black wolf, whatever you want to call it. Every single person has two wolves within themselves. A good one who is all about love, kindness, happiness, understanding, empathy, and it sits on one shoulder. The other one, the bad wolf, that sits on the opposite shoulder, is all about fear, aggression, anxiety, jealousy, hatred. And the boy asked the grandfather, so when everybody has has two of these wolves, one of each inside of them, what do these wolves do in that person? Well, the wolves fight. They fight with each other all the time. And sometimes during the battles, the one wolf will be ahead of the game, and sometimes the bad wolf will be ahead of the game. And the little boy asked the grandfather, well, in the end, does one of them win? And the grandfather's reply was, yes, one of them will win. But Grandpa, said the little boy, which one will? And the grandfather had a very simple answer for that. The one with you. So, now you're supposed to do, ah! and I can't hear you. So we are running out of time. I have 5 minutes left, and I am going to turn on some music after I put my fresh paint out here, and I am going to finish my painting. You guys can try to figure out what it is that I am painting, and in the end, if you can't see it, which you should, but if you can, I will walk the canvas all the way out there into the sun so that you can, but the colors don't really make a difference. So anyways, thank you for joining me, and we will have some time for questions and answers at the end if you like. I will answer any questions that you may have, or listen to any comments that you make. We would love to have some comments. Um, this is a new way of doing things, and I have a feeling this will continue to grow with this library as well as many other places. So your feedback is super, super important to us. It was wonderful speaking with you. I wish I could have seen all of your guys' faces and talked to you in person, but this is the next best thing. So it's a good thing. So I'm going to prepare my paint real quick, because with the speed painting, I don't have time to stop and do that while I'm painting. So want to prepare really quick. A couple of colors here. Not that it matters to you what colors I'm using, really, because you're in the shade. No, I'm the one in the shade. Sorry. But you can't see the colors, but it's okay. I'll use the lighter colors only. All right, here we go. I'm going to turn on some music, and I'm going to paint. Sit back and enjoy. Chris, trying to get organized here. Sorry. Here we go. Music on.
Turn it down just a bit.
Too loud?
Silence on, but I hear it where you are, so don't search anymore. You are the dawn of a new day that's waking, a masterpiece still in the making. Blue in an ocean of gray. You are right where you need to be, poised to inspire and to succeed. You look back and you'll realize one day in your eyes there's doubt as you try to figure it out, but that's not what life is about. So have faith, there's a way. Though the world may try to define you, it can't take the life that's inside you, so don't you dare try to hide, let your fears fade away. You are the dawn of a new day that's waking, a masterpiece still in the making. Blue in an ocean of gray. You succeed. You look back and you'll realize one day you are the dawn of a new day that's waking. But that dream still in the making. A blue in an ocean of gray. You are right where you need to be, poised to inspire and to succeed. Soon you'll finally find your own way. Little child, be not afraid. The rain pounds harshly against the glass like an unwanted stranger. There is no danger. Little child, be not afraid. The thunder explodes, and lightning flash illuminates the tear-stained face. I'm here tonight, and someday you'll know that nature is so. The same rain that draws you near me falls on rivers and lands, on forests and sand, makes the beautiful world that you see in the morning. Little child, be not afraid. The storm clouds mask your beloved moon, and its candlelight beams to keep you Little child, be not afraid. The wind makes creatures of our trees, and the branches to hands that will understand. And I am here tonight, and someday you'll know that nature is so. The same rain that draws you near me falls on rivers and land, and forests and sand, makes the beautiful world that you see in the morning. You know, once you and I was a child, was a thing. It had been till someone always came to dry all my tears, shed sweet sleep for fears, and to give a kiss goodnight. Oh, now I'm alone, and these years have shown the rains of blood and how life goes, but it's dark and it's late, so I'll hold you and wait till your frightened eyes do close, and I hope that you know that nature is so. The same rain that draws you near me falls on rivers and land, and forests and sand, makes the beautiful world that you see in the morning. Everything's fine in the morning. The rain will be gone in the morning. And we'll still be here in the morning.
Bam. So, There's your illusion, just a whole lot of flowers, but no. Things are not always what they seem. When things go really bad, they will get better. It's the cycle of life. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you get something out of this, something small or something big for yourself that will help you and your family to get through these times. Um, be well. God bless. Goodbye. Answering questions.
Oh, thank you so much, Martina. It was wonderful, and the painting is
Thank you.
amazing. Thank you for being adventurous and trying this with us.
Yes.
I think it went really well, and I hope everyone enjoyed, and I hope to see you again soon.
Same here. Be
Bye.
safe, everyone. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thanks.